Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 23 of the African Do podcast. Today, we after the feedback on episode 21, where we had a conversation around agriculture that was largely agriculture focused, and the comments that we saw based on that episode, we stick in the realm of agriculture, but on a different tangent. And it's my pleasure to have a good friend, Bernard Wagitu of Amagoh Dorpers Stud. So today we're going to talk about sheep, kondoo, Dorper. So Bernard, welcome to
Thank you very
the
much.
African Do podcast.
Much appreciated. Thank you, Leo. Thank you for the invite.
Excellent.
Yes.
So Bernard, let's get started. And I remember when we first met, and I came to visit your farm out in Katafu,
Yes.
which we'll get into in the course of the podcast. But I asked you, how did you find yourself in this journey?
Yes.
And I found that to be a very fascinating story. So maybe we can have it for the benefit of the audience. So you were employed.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
And how do you then find yourself farming sheep from that bedrock of employment?
Yes. So thank you once more, Leo, for the invite. Yeah, my journey into sheep was, I must say, a long one.
Yes.
And started out in the so-called corporate world, where I spent about 18 years. Mainly of 17 of those good years was spent in the telecommunications sector.
Yes.
And I was brought up with animals. My parents loved keeping animals, even in the city. So whenever I had a chance, I would always try to sneak up and go back to the farm and just try to do something with the animals, especially from a breeding point of view. So we started out with rabbits, went into dogs, and mainly into dog breeding. And we did quite well, won a few shows in 2009 at the East Africa Kennel Club.
Yes.
And at around 2010 is when I decided, look, this seems to be something serious for me, livestock farming. And then we started keeping cattle. And my vision then was to be a breeder of Sahiwal, beef cattle.
Yes.
And but quickly I realized along my journey that one of the main tenets of any business is to be able to have control.
Yes.
And clearly being employed and trying to run a breeding farm was very difficult.
Yes.
Because especially when it came to issues of just management of it. And I started, having my ideas in terms of what else can I be able to do that will give me more control. And that's how I ended up with sheep. Because with sheep, they are very versatile. One, you may not need a lot of space to keep them.
Okay.
Right now, we run one of our feedlots just sits on a quarter acre. That's 100 by 100 feet. And in it, we are able to feed 800 sheep.
Wow.
At any given one time. So quickly, I moved into that. And slowly gained the experience. It's been a journey.
Okay.
Gained the experience. And about 2018, and we started at about 2011. 2018 is when I decided to take the big jump.
Yeah, this thing and, now, I need to do it full time.
Yeah, this thing I need to sit on the saddle, so to speak.
Yes.
And that's when now moved fully into the farm.
Okay.
Yes.
Excellent. Another thing that stuck with me from the first time I met you is I think you were telling us about that early journey.
Yes.
And if I recall right, you told me a story about how you would, nowadays there's University of YouTube,
Correct.
So you could learn, there's a lot you can learn.
Yes.
But when you applied the principles you are learning from the various videos you are watching, you noticed that the weight gain of your animal was not what the YouTube video was telling you should be, despite following the instructions to the letter.
Yes.
And that brought you into the world of genetics.
Yes.
So let's talk about genetics. Another thing that you mentioned that stuck with me is that good livestock farming is about, and let me see if I recall this right. You told me it's fundamentally about three things. Mm-hmm. Yeah. One is a choice of genetics, good genetics. Yeah.
Correct.
2, quality and consistency of feed.
Correct.
Yeah. And lastly, good vet care.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So maybe you can walk us through that initial journey and what your learnings were of genetics that pushed you down this path of doing things right, so to speak.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So from the beginning, dealing with the breed itself, the Dorper is actually a cross between the Dorset Horned Ram and what we refer to as the Somali Blackhead Sheep.
Mm-hmm.
And it was created in the 1930s in South Africa.
Yes.
As purely a meat breed.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly, if it is a meat breed, what you're looking at is weight gain and growth rate.
Mm-hmm.
And along the journey, I quickly noticed that our Dorpers in the farm were taking about 13 months to get to about a weight of about 15 kgs carcass weight, which means that's about 35 live weight.
Yes.
But when I would go back to my reading materials, I would notice that for the South Africans, for example, it was taking them 5 months.
To get to the same weight?
To get to the same weight.
Uh-huh.
And that kept me thinking, you know? And quickly I realized it doesn't matter. It's not how much food I pump into this animal.
Yes.
Or how great my management can be if I don't correct the genetics.
Okay.
You know? Clearly the genetics we had then at the farm, and I believe it's a case all around the country, was very low. Apart from the color, which was black head, white body, like the South Africans, everything else was off.
Yes.
You know, the growth rate will never get there.
Yes.
You know? And also at the same time, from a commercial perspective, we were getting hammered by the off-takers because they would then penalize you.
Yes.
Because first, if you want to get your sheep to about 2025, that's an old one.
Yes,
Because it needs to take about 5 years at your farm.
You mean 2025 carcass weight?
Yes, correct.
That's like 55, 60 live weight.
There you go.
Yeah.
And that would take you about 4 or 5 years.
Yes.
Then, of course, it will affect the meat itself.
Yes, yes.
The texture, the taste.
Yes.
And they'll penalize you.
Yes.
So quickly, we started now trying to make inroads into South Africa.
Okay.
Trying to find who could we be able to partner with on the other side of the world and try and infuse the genetics, improve what we have, and also bring in those superior genetics.
Yes.
And our journey now into South Africa started in 2015.
Okay.
That's when.
And what was that first journey like? You know, so I know you say the journey of getting good genetics, but you made a call. You say, I'm going to South Africa.
Yes.
And I think before you purchased, you went a bit and learned a few things.
Yes.
So what do you then say? What do you make a call and say, I'm going to get what?
Yes.
Yes.
Now, clearly, what we got to that point in time was there's this instance of time value of money.
Yes.
Which is very important for any business.
Agreed.
And we quickly realized we will just be chasing our own tail if we continue doing what we are doing. We had perfected it.
Yes.
But again, you're just chasing your own tail when it comes to the kilos and everything else.
Yes.
And that's when we started now the initial journey of trying to, contact breeders in South Africa.
Yes.
Going through they have a very detailed list in terms of how they do their farming in South Africa. So if you want to look for a breeder, there's a breeder society and they have their registered members there. So that's where our first point of call was.
Yes.
And once we made contact with one gentleman, now the late Henry Van Wyk, that's when we made the decision to pay him a visit. Those days were the days of invitation letters.
Yes.
So he had to write for us an invitation letter. Got the invitation letter and took about a week and a half in South Africa.
Okay.
Yes. So that's how our journey started. And I must say, when I got there, I saw sheep I've never seen Leo in my life.
So let's do a quick comparison for the benefit of the audience.
Yes.
Because you said you are getting to a year.
Yes.
And 13 months.
Yes.
And you're hitting 15
Yes.
15 carcass
Yes.
weight, which
Yes.
is 30, 35
Correct.
live weight.
Yes.
So what did you find down there? Those sheep that you hadn't seen. What kind of numbers? Like, let's say like for like 13 month there, what is your average well-run Dorper farm getting to at month 13?
Most of the time, many of these farmers, any sheep that was beyond 13 months was actually kept for breeding.
Yes.
So that one was not for mutton.
Okay.
But what they used to sell for lamb, or what you call mutton now, was anything between 5 and 6 months.
Okay.
You see, at 5 and 6 months, they had sheep that were over 50 kilos.
What?
So you, someone will show you a sheep that was about 45 kilos and tell you it's 3 months, it's still with the mother. You're shocked, you know? And I remember showing the breeder my sheep. You know, all of us farmers like carrying our sheep with us on our phone.
Yeah.
So I showed him my sheep, and he was very kind, because the only thing he told me is that they were leggy.
He was generous. He had to find a compliment somewhere.
With his comment.
I want a compliment somewhere there.
I could see it coming, you know. When you see your fellow man, farmer, remove his spectacles while he's looking at you. You know, he's thinking hard. He's thinking hard.
Okay,
you know?
So you now go there and you've learned these huge lessons.
Correct.
And I think it's important at this point to just point out to listeners the difference between lamb and mutton.
Yes.
And that one at least I can answer. I'm not a farmer, but me, I'm a off-taker at the front.
Yes.
So 12 months and below, lamb.
Correct.
Yeah. Above 13 months, mutton.
Correct.
Yeah. So usually tenderness, quality of meat, great between 3 and 12 months. So if you get your animal at that rate, that's lamb. If you go beyond 12 months, that's mutton.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So now you're in SA, you've seen.
Yes.
What call do you make and what do you acquire?
So once in SA, visited this farm, spent about 2 to 3 days just trying to learn. You know, what are they feeding? What's the management kind? You know, what are they doing that we are not doing here? Picked a lot of lessons on the first trip and made the decision to come back with 3 rams and 7 pregnant ewes. At least that's what we thought. They were all 7 pregnant ewes. And normally the journey then is, once you buy, they have to go into quarantine.
Yes.
So once you buy them, you identify your tag numbers. They are taken into quarantine, which can last anything between a month and 2 months.
Okay.
Because then you look for something we call an import permit, which you send to the breeder, and he sends it to his state vet.
Okay.
Equivalent to our county vet.
Yes.
So he sends it to the state vet, and the state vet now what does? He follows the various protocols that are on the import permit.
Required here.
Yes. So the test will take a while. Then the sheep came back. I think they arrived here about 3 months later. That's when we got our sheep into the country. And from then, now it was a journey of trying to improve what we already had. And also grow our stud, you know, of the pure pedigree sheep.
So you come with 10 animals.
Yes.
3 rams and 7 pregnant ewes.
Actually, that's an interesting story. That's what we bought.
Yes.
Remember, they were pregnant.
Yes.
So by the time they were landing, they were 17.
Because they gave birth in quarantine.
Exactly. They gave birth in quarantine.
Okay.
And we had a bit of a tiff with KRA because your document is reading 10.
Yes.
But the other smaller guys.
There are some smaller guys there. Yeah.
So anyway, that's what we arrived with in the farm.
Okay.
And here's a lesson for the farmers because you remember I mentioned that we thought all 7 were pregnant.
Yes.
1 came that was not pregnant. And we stayed with that sheep since 2015 end.
Yes.
Till 2020, it never gave birth. Till the time it died post-COVID.
What happened?
And this is something farmers have to accept. And it's part of the risks.
Yes.
You may get some sheep that don't give birth.
True.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't think the breeder did it knowingly. So I wouldn't say it was part of fraud or anything of that sort. It's just part of life.
True. Yeah.
And this is something we always try to teach our fellow farmers here, is that, these are some of the risks. We normally have farmers coming in we now started providing something called a business case.
Yes.
Where they would come in, we'd sit down with them and we'd do them a business case in terms of, what are they looking out of this project?
Yeah.
For some of them, they will tell you we want to be able to slaughter 50 per month. Others will tell you, especially the ladies, they will say they are more practical and more specific. They'll say, I want to make 120,000 a month. So now we need to come up with a model that fixes into that.
Okay.
You see, and many of them, they never think about mortality. You see, so they'll say, I have 20 ewes, then the 20 ewes become pregnant, then they give birth to 20. Then I'll stop them and say, what about death? What about if it dies? What about
and death is a reality?
It's reality. And some get shocked, it's like you don't expect yours to die or yours to get sick and stuff like that. And this is something we are teaching farmers that you need to build a model that is comprehensive.
Yes.
That takes care of life.
Yes.
Yes. Theft is another big issue, So all these things. And then again, there are sheep that give birth to twins and triplets. So maybe a match of one.
There's an upside and a downside. It's
exactly.
Yes. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
So those are some of the things that we learned in the first initial 5 years of our journey.
So let's interrogate this, because it's a great thing to build on.
Yes.
Yeah. So you land here with your supposed to be 10, but now 17 animals.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And they're on your farm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So but you had a herd.
Yes.
So what herd did they find of your sheep? What was there? What was your Kenyan stock that you were sitting on?
My Kenyan stock then was about, in terms of numbers?
Yes.
In terms of numbers, then we are sitting at about 480 sheep.
Yes.
Or so.
So you're local.
Yes.
Yeah.
Local, Kenyan.
All, yeah.
All of them.
So now, these guys that you have brought, the three guys, yeah, you now start a journey of a mounting program, and so on. So walk us a bit through that. How was that journey?
Yeah, that journey was, I can say, for the first 1.5 years, it was filled with a lot of ups and downs. And why?
Yeah.
Once, being Kenyan,
yes,
you never run away from that. Being Kenyan first, once the rams landed, I put them to work immediately.
Yeah, in gear.
And what the biggest mistake I made was the ratio. So we put them in, it was a 1-year-old ram, and I put him in with 80 ewes. So at the end of that breeding season, normally our breeding season is 35 days.
Yes.
Okay. And why we say 35 days is because an ewe comes on estrus cycle or on heat every 17 days.
Okay.
So once he did the first round, we thought, he's done his job. And took him out. But immediately after 3 months, we noticed not everybody
is pregnant. Yeah.
And thank God for that relationship made with the guys back in South Africa. So I called Henry and I said, look, this is the struggle I'm having. So he asked me, what was your ratio? And I said, I put some 80, another guy gave 85, Yeah, because I was,
So one ram you were giving to service 80 ewes. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And he quickly said, oh my God, no, you're doing it the wrong way.
Come slowly.
Take care of those boys. And now the next round, what we did now was to follow his instructions, which were basically one ram at 1 year old needs to serve 35 ewes maximum.
Max.
For 35 days. And quickly we could see the difference. Even the boy was happy.
Yeah. You were overworking
the guy. The guy felt mistreated.
Yes.
So now he was happy. And that has been something that we followed up to date.
Yes. Does that ratio change the older the ram becomes, or it sticks, or you've stuck to the 35?
What you do, a ram's productivity life is about 8 years.
Okay.
Then it starts dipping.
Okay.
Then you can't give it parameters of how many ewes, how many days.
Yes.
So at about year 3 to year 5, That's when your ram is at its
optimum.
peak.
Yeah.
At that point, it can do 60, 70 ewes.
Wow.
In 35 days. See? Yes.
Mm.
At that time. But of course, your feeding has to be good.
Yes.
Your care, deworming,
yes,
has to be very good.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now let's leave the animals, kidogo.
Yes.
Yeah, because we've understood that. We'll come back to them.
Yes.
But let's talk about management.
Yes.
And your lessons therein. Yeah. You have systems. You have routine.
Correct.
Yeah. Today you came with your breeder.
Yes.
You have a breeder. So you have all this. Tell us a bit about your lessons on farm management in a Kenyan context and the opportunities you see therein.
What I would say is, in our last journey for about 13 years now, there are certain things we've learned, Leo. And those ones, we call them our critical success factors, or the pillars that run our farm.
Yes.
One is on the genetics that we've just spoken about.
Yes.
Secondly is on feed security. You need to have a plan on food. You need to ask yourself certain questions. Am I going to grow my food? Am I going to buy my food? Or am I going to do both? But you need to have the plan in place. And ideally, even before you bring the animals.
Yes.
The third thing is management.
Yes.
And under management, we're talking about you as the owner of the farm, the holder of the vision, need to be properly not only informed, but also skilled.
Yes.
To a level of you being able to meet the desires or the objectives that you've set in your farm.
Yes.
And that can only happen through training.
Okay.
There's no other way out.
You have to get the knowledge.
You have to get the knowledge.
Yes.
And then now the second thing is your team. You see, your team can only be as good as you.
Yes.
Not the other way around.
True.
You see?
True.
And that's something we are very big on at the farm. We try our level best. We hold what we call the Amagoh conference.
Yes.
Where we bring farmers from all over the country to come and even beyond to come for a 2-day conference where we bring in industry experts, be it in nutritionists, be it vets, be it Dorper inspectors all the way from South Africa, just to come and give us the learnings. We also bring in at the end of the commercial side the off-takers to come and tell us what do they need, what kind of product do they need, so that we're able to tailor our products to their needs at the end of the day. So that's something we are very big on. We hold it at least once a year. We've done it for the last 2 years. And it has been received very well.
Let me interrogate that a bit, because, and this is what I like, and probably why I have you on the podcast, because I like the fact that, yes, you're running a commercial farm, but you're not really commercial minded. Yeah. In the sense that you're not the first person to farm Dorper.
Correct.
In Kenya. Yeah. There are lots of people probably wealthier than you who are farming Dorper.
Yes.
But you're the first one I have heard of. Who has gone to great lengths, personal lengths, you didn't have to, to share your knowledge, even at a fee, which was not an option that was open. And I feel you're doing the work of the state, but you're doing it anyway. You're getting on with it and you're doing it. But what is driving you down that path? What have you seen that have said, let me dedicate some time and my resources, because the way I've seen the conference, and I've been following it, we've been talking about it. It's not really a large for-profit venture. It's more like, let me bring these guys. If I meet my costs, you know, what I've spent to bring them and put them up and share that cost with other farmers, great, and everyone will go out and become better. What's driving you down that route?
Correct. For us, it's more about our long-term agenda, which is basically, look, we need to elevate farmers. And this is a kind of knowledge you can't keep to yourself. It doesn't mean our candle will go off if we light yours, Leo. And we quickly notice this very early in our journey, because if you become too transactional, if you're all about the sale, then you'll quickly notice that the farmer is suffering at the end of the day. And what suffers as a whole is an industry. Because most of the farmers lack that kind of knowledge. They may have the money to buy the sheep,
Yes.
But most of them you'll hear asking, what next? You know? What do I do for my young ewes, for my young lambs? You know, and that sort of thing. And that's where we saw the gap.
Okay.
And we decided, look, you know, for us, as we normally say at Amagoh, it's about a relationship.
Yes.
It's not a transaction.
Yes.
Many of the guys who buy from us have been buying from us since 2011.
Yes.
And it's because of that.
Yes.
You know, we don't wave at you at the gate and say you bought the sheep, you know, forget you.
Deal.
You know, you go fend for yourself.
Kind of the way that your guy helped you, you know, calling him and he's still talking to you after you've bought sheep from him in SA.
Exactly. Yeah. But again, look at it even from a supply point of view. Right now, the smallest orders you can get for import, or rather, export, is 3 tons. 3 tons is about 200 sheep.
Smallest.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how many farmers can be able to do that? Many farmers, if you tell him sell 200 sheep, he'll close the farm. Sell today, close the farm.
It's done.
So what we're also trying to do is let the farmers embrace scale and encourage them.
Yes.
You know, and you can only encourage that through information.
Yes.
You know, empowering you with information.
Yeah.
Because if you can't take care of 3, you're not going to try to take care of 100.
True.
You see?
So upskilling is important.
Upskilling is so important.
So it's basically, if I get you right, your thinking is, if I share my knowledge and we grow together, we are stronger as a unit.
Correct.
Or as an ecosystem.
Correct.
If the ecosystem thrive, then us as the constituent bodies in the ecosystem will all be thriving.
There you go.
Excellent.
There you go. And we'll be able to negotiate better, be it with government, lobby better with government, and also from an export point of view, be able to negotiate much better prices.
And I dare say, from a local consumption.
Yes.
Because that's my space.
Yes.
Yeah. And I can tell you,
yes,
one of the challenges we have in the restaurant space, and when you compare the restaurant industry in South Africa versus Kenya, one of the challenges we have is consistency of supply.
You're right.
Actually, my personal interest in this space is because of seeing the challenges from the front.
Yes.
You know, you want lamb.
Yes.
The guy who comes and has a memorable dining experience in your restaurant.
Yes.
Let's say he's had a shank or a lamb chop, you know. If he comes next time, and it's slightly tougher, he doesn't care.
Yes.
Him is like, those guys, they've started to joke, man. I went there, I had a fabulous lamb chop.
Yes.
Now, the other day, I went, kitu ngumu, man, a hard thing, like you can't believe.
Yes.
And yet, it is not the fault of the restaurant guy. He's not changed his recipe. He's not changed how he's executing. But the supply chain at the back is not having the ability. And I think that's why we need to do what you're doing.
Yes.
When was it we had a drought? 2 years ago?
Yes.
And I remember talking to you after that drought.
Yes.
And you told me that, boss, that drought has made me think about food security totally differently.
Correct.
And I think at that point you started a journey. You had already started it, but you kind of put the pedal to the metal on it.
Yes.
In the sense that you started planting more of your own
feed.
And then you invested in a posho mill to. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about feeds. We have talked about genetics. We have talked about management. Let's talk about feeds.
Yes.
So what has been your experience and what is the opportunity? You talked about food security.
Yes.
How long should you be food secure for your animals, you know?
Yes.
And let's talk a bit about that and see.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when it comes to feed, I mean, it's critical. And for us, the way we look at it is to say, at the bare minimum, have at least feed in your stores, planned out for at least a year.
12 months.
12 months. That's now is when you're scratching the surface.
Yes.
You should have more, you know?
But bare minimum,
have it for 12 months. And another important thing is that your sheep eat about 4% of their body weight in a day.
Daily.
Yeah. So to put it in perspective, a sheep of about 50 kilos live weight will eat about 2 kgs.
Yes.
Yeah. And what you just need to keep in mind right now is it's a balanced diet. Meaning, you have to have your energy, you need to have your proteins, and you need to have your trace minerals well into that feed. So clearly, the way you're going to source for your feed
Yes.
has to make sense at the end of the day.
Okay.
To what we refer to as the bottom line.
Yes.
So, but as we know in Kenya, the prices keep fluctuating. So you have a choice. You could either try to stabilize the prices by sourcing better or by being able to grow your own fodder.
Okay.
You know? And for us, that's when, after the drought, we started this journey of saying, look, what we can grow, let's try to grow. And quickly we decided, look, we had been growing our own hay, but we quickly decided to change that and said we are going to grow what we call high cost or feeds that we consider to be harder to get.
Yes.
You see, so things like Lucerne.
Lucerne grass.
Yes.
Yeah.
Things like Super Napier, you know, now Bracharia. Those are the things now we grow at our farm. You see? And things like hay, what we decided to do was to source and become better at it. Because with hay, there are many farmers who grow hay. But what you just need to do is make sure you close or you lock the price at a favorable price.
Yes.
And you just have to wait for the rains.
Okay.
Once the rains are there, then many of the farmers will have enough feed. So the prices for hay will go down. That's when you stock your barns with hay.
So asking on behalf of the layman.
Yes.
You know, for the layman, nyasi ni nyasi.
Yes.
You know, grass is grass.
Yes.
So, but you're talking about the difference between hay and now the other, Super Napier, Bracharia. So maybe walk us through, what is that? Is it ingredients in a blend of the feed? So just walk us through what that thinking is from a technical perspective.
Okay. Now, let's envisage that you have a tray or a plate of food.
Yes.
Now, in your plate of food, you divide it energy, proteins, and trace minerals.
Yes. Okay.
And ideally, what you do, you would say 70% is energy. Now, what is energy? Energy is things like wheat, maize, barley. Those are your sources of energy.
Yes.
And when we talk about maize, it can be in many forms. It can be what you call your maize jam, your maize bran. It can also be your maize silage.
Okay.
Now that's 70% of your plate. Then the next part is the protein side of it. Now your protein sources are lucerne, soya, cottonseed cake, sunflower, canola.
Yeah.
All these are your sources of protein.
Yes.
Now, of course, what you'll quickly find is that the higher priced proteins normally have a higher what we call crude protein content.
Okay.
So things like soya, at about right now, I think soya is about 180 bob a kilo, has about 50% CP.
Crude protein. Yeah.
But here's where the trick is. A sheep does not require 40-50%. What a sheep may require is about anything between 14 to 18% crude protein.
Okay.
So your cottonseed cake fits the bill. Your sunflower fits the bill. Your canola fits the bill. So, and now I'm telling many farmers, because some will say, soya is too expensive for me. I would say you may reduce your soya, and buy more of the sunflower, which is cheaper. Okay, sunflower now you're buying it at about 55 bob.
And this is the sunflower seed cake,
which
is the leftover after squeezing the oil out of the sunflower. So it's a byproduct of the oil, cooking oil process. Okay,
and the same applies to the canola. The same applies to the cottonseed cake.
Okay,
yes. So that forms your 20% of your plate. Then the 10% now is your trace minerals. You know, your phosphorus, your zinc, your vitamin B12.
Where do those come from?
Now, the easiest way to do those ones is you buy something we call a premix. Yeah. And for us, we use a dairy premix. Okay. You just buy a dairy premix. And then because you need it in, as the word says, trace, you need it in very small quantities.
Yes.
So in about 100 kilos of mix, you will only require about 100 grams of that premix to be mixed there. Yes.
And that you're sourcing from who?
That one you're sourcing from
Locally? Who are the
Locally,
local?
Unga. Unga, that's where we buy from Unga.
Okay.
But you can buy from other
Okay.
various. But to us, we do it from Unga.
Okay.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
I think now we have a good layout
Yes.
of the importance of... let's go to the last one.
Correct.
Of the three.
Yes.
Vet care.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
So good vet care
Yes.
is extremely important.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
So maybe let's talk about what you do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And let's talk about the resources available to farmers locally.
Yes.
And what the opportunities are.
Okay. So for anyone starting into this journey, what is important is to identify what I call your ecosystem players.
Yes.
You see, and one of them, as you've rightfully mentioned, is vets. And the most important thing, especially for a sheep or a goat farmer, for that matter, is you need to get a vet who is experienced on sheep.
Yes.
To be honest with you, many are not.
Yes.
And when I say experience, is dealing with sheep.
Yes.
Because what you find, many of them, and it just goes by production, have dealt with the dairy cows and the cows, the bigger animals. So for what we call the shorts, the sheep and goats, many are not hands-on.
Yes.
So the first thing I would say to any farmer starting out is please partner with a vet who has that kind of experience.
Okay.
Where do you get them? You should look at the big ranches that run sheep operations.
Yes.
You should look at a place like Nairobi Vet or Nairobi University, sorry.
Yes.
Kabete.
Yes. Yeah.
You'll find very good guys there because they have a farm.
Yes.
And in their farm, they have sheep.
Yes.
So they've dealt with them.
Yes.
And partner with that vet.
Yes.
Yeah. To come up with what we call a deworming schedule and a vaccination schedule for your animals.
Yes.
Because what you find with the Dorpers are very easy to take care.
Yeah.
Animals. You see, as long as you adhere to your vaccinations and your deworming.
Yes.
Because remember, we keep them for meat.
Yes.
Yeah, for lamb and mutton. And so growth rate and weight gain is key.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So you don't want anything that's going to disrupt that. And worms do disrupt that.
But so you're telling me
yes,
Upper we're sour in terms of the talent.
Yes.
Locally.
Yes.
The vet talent, these are not experts, these are Kenyans who are here on the ground and do have the skill set that you require to achieve what you want to achieve. Excellent.
Yes. I think that is key. Once you partner with a very good vet and your team is skilled, and when you say about skilled is let them be able to understand when a sheep is sick, which the vet will show them. These are the indicators, so that you're also able to treat faster.
Yes.
Because you find with many of the farmers, they only do emergencies. You know, you always get the call of, it's not waking up. Now, you know, you're already at ICU stage.
Yes. And then now you're trying to,
So it becomes very tough.
Okay.
Because even the vets don't live at the farm, so he has to come from far. So you need someone who's able now to detect early so that we can be able to treat early.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Now, we have covered the farm.
Yes.
Let's talk a bit about the market.
Correct.
Yeah. There's been a buzzword about export, but I like to start local.
Yes.
Because we deserve good things and we should also consume high quality meat.
Yes.
So how have you watched the journey from 2011 when you started to date? How has that journey of understanding that whole ecosystem, where do you sell your animals?
Yeah, so for us, I mean, it's been a journey of positivity, I must say, from a commercial front. Why do I say this? You know, when we started out in 2011,
yes,
I recall the prices were at about 380 shillings per kilo.
Dead weight.
That's what we used to sell to the, that's what we used to sell to the off-takers.
Yes.
Carcass weight, 380 a kilo. When I look at it now, today, same off-taker is buying at 650 a kilo. Now, what that tells me is that the demand is there.
Yes.
You see, supply has been an issue because even now, the off-takers we take to now have also reduced their conditions. Then it used to be you need to bring in 100 head, you know, per order. Now they're willing to take 50. which also tells you the demand is there.
High, yeah.
You know, the demand is high.
Yeah.
Now, what is important now for the farmer in this journey is to embrace scale. Because scale is what is going to take you over. See? Yes. Yes.
How are you doing on your scale journey? What's your head count now?
I mean, we are not yet there as our chairman. We call him my father. He's our chairman patron of our farm, as he normally says. We don't have enough. That's all I can say.
I get it.
We don't have enough. And I
but
think
you're
also,
on the journey, yeah.
And I also think our chief breeder also says the same thing.
Yes.
In charge of nutrition.
Yes.
Because we want to get to a point where we are able to do turnovers of thousands.
Excellent.
That is our plan.
Yeah.
You see, because now we've gotten into a point of doing aging.
Yeah.
We're doing cuts.
Yeah.
But clearly, it's a good problem to have, Leo.
Yeah.
And that's why we are so busy encouring more farmers to join, because
I'm telling you, and me, I'm waiting. I'm coming.
We're waiting.
I'm coming, my guy. I'm coming. just pray for me.
Yeah.
I'll be with you shortly.
Yes.
But let me tell you a story.
Yes.
That kind of gutted me, and it gutted me because I know you have visited your farm.
Yes.
I had an uncle passed away last year.
Yes.
It was last year. My late uncle, Samson, he's called Dr. Samson Chema. Yeah. And Dr. Samson Chema was one of the early vets in this country. In fact, for a long time, he was the head of the Kabete, UON Kabete veterinary office at you. So before he passed on, I went to have a coffee. I would pick him up from his place and I took him to have a coffee. He was almost 90.
Wow.
In fact, he died at 90, exactly 90.
Wow.
And I took him for a coffee and we were talking and I was telling him, I've met a friend, he's doing this Dorper thing. I really like it. I'm planning for it. I want to do it myself. And then the guy told me a story that gutted me. Yeah. He told me that in between, it was a 15-year project that they ran.
Yes.
It was a Kenya government project supported by, I think, USAID and some other body. But it was called the Kenya Small Ruminant Project. And it was built around sheep and goat farming. And they had stations. I think they had one station in Kibwezi. They had one station in Maseno. And these guys had managed to get, for goat, I think he was telling me, it was a complete research study project. It says, if you want to see the success of the project, he says 34 PhDs over those 15 years came out of that one project.
Yes.
Kenyan farmers. It says they had gotten farmers to the level. So the reason why he was telling me this story is because I was telling him about your journey and going to South Africa to get.
Correct.
And he was gutted. He was gutted because you're saying they had done all that work. All that work. Wow. Breeding, genetics, and they were here. And he says they started the project, I think, in 1978.
Yes.
And it ran for 15 years. That was the life of the project.
Wow.
So some of the challenges we face as a nation are just challenges of leadership, because we have done these things, we have this knowledge, and we kind of just let it die and go away. But what I like about it is that there's always going to be people who are bringing change, and you are one of them. And I really want to champion you and celebrate you at this point for what you're doing in that sector. You are doing in what I call, and it's become a theme that I find in the podcast.
Yes.
You are doing the government's work.
Correct.
Because what you're offering is extension services.
Correct.
You know, when you're calling farmers from around the country, come, we have this exhibition. That is government's work. Yeah. And so I just thought that's a good point to, one, tell you that story, but also to just celebrate what you're doing.
Thank you.
Now, Ben,
yes,
let's talk a bit about the future. Where are we going? And I think in order to talk about the future, let's accurately contextualize this opportunity. Because many people eat. You know, I go to my butcher, I buy, I unpatie mguu, I go, I choma. I'm really enjoying now in Kenya. We have all these different TikTok chefs, and everyone's talking about how to cook.
Yes.
And there's a great story there because people are learning cuts.
Correct.
So what is let's contextualize for the listener the magnitude of the opportunity. Yeah. And then let's speak about what the potential is. How do we unlock that opportunity?
Okay. One thing is very clear is that we have a good problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep on referencing to that. We have a good problem because the demand is there.
Yes.
Both locally and internationally.
Mm-hmm.
Also, by God's graces, the way we are located geographically as a country, we're able to support not only the exports, but also the rain and the kind of climate we have in Kenya. You can't compare. I think it's more of unlocking the mind one.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you find with many farmers, they are not experienced or they do not appreciate skill.
Mm-hmm.
We are scared of skill. I've seen farmers coming in and saying, look, let me start with 3 and then tuone vile itaenda. It's a very common Kenyan saying, nione vile itaenda. But look, you have an off-taker who's taking a minimum order of 50 now. So what is your 3 going to do?
What is your 3? Yeah. You're not even in the conversation.
And the other thing is that I always try to push back and say, look, you're not going to get labor cheaper because you have 3. You see? The way we do it at the farm, we say one stockman can take care of 200 sheep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now, you're not going to pay that stockman less because you have 3 sheep. Actually, you're going to create more problems for yourself.
Yes.
Because this young guy now
will be idle.
Yeah, he's idle.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, first, it's battle in the mind. And that's where we open up our farms on Tuesdays and Saturdays for visitors to come and just see, when I was talking about space, that even at a 1/4 acre, you can easily feed 800 sheep.
Wow.
Okay? So it's not a question of hundreds of acres that you have or don't have. It's more about the mind and appreciating skill. You see? And now skill is both in the animals and in the feed. See? And what I've seen is that most of the farmers who have done dairy seem to have an easier transition
into sheep. Yeah.
Because one cow eats what 8 sheep eat. So first of all, he feels, I'm doing more.
Yes.
Okay,
and I'm getting more bang for my buck.
I'm getting more bang.
Yeah.
And they are used to feed size. You see, when you say a sheep that eats 2 kg, his cow at 40 liters is doing about 60 kg of feed per day. So this is something I can do. But that's where we want to get the rest of the farming community into, Dorper sheep community. The other thing is a better pricing that we are getting.
Yeah.
And I believe if we're able to form an association that is strong enough, we can lobby with government, to be able to bring in better input at a cheaper price, more affordable, and at the end, we are going to be able to produce more.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
So for me, it's a good problem
to have.
But it's a good problem to have only if we're able to solve it. Or it will always remain a good problem.
Yes.
You see?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And you're on that journey.
Yes, we're on that journey.
And when you talk about, so you give us an interesting price of 650.
Correct.
As we draw to the end of the podcast, we started with your animals that took you to South Africa.
Correct.
Where you are hitting 15 kilos carcass weight.
Yes.
So just for the listener to contextualize what all this work and effort over 13 years has done for you.
Yes.
What weights are you achieving today?
Now we are able to achieve between 6 and 7 months, we're able to do carcasses of 20.
Wow.
Okay.
So that's 40.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we believe we can do better. Our chief nutrition officer, she's working very hard on now the TMR, which is basically the mixing of the feed.
TMR stands for?
Total mix ratio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So working on that. So to ensure we are able to give feed that can give us more weight gain and growth rate. So that's what we are working on right now. But you can see it's a journey.
Yes.
We've halved the period.
Yes.
You see?
Yeah.
Now we're at about 6-7 months, and before it used to be 13 months.
To get to the same weight.
Yes.
Yeah.
To get to the same weight.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I
But
can...
you're still not at that guy.
We are not at that guy
yet. Of month 4. month 4 is showing you a 45 kilo
exactly. We are
animal.
not yet there.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty about it.
And that journey, but you're walking the journey, which counts for a lot.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So we are walking the journey, and we've added one more pillar to the 3 that we always share, which is genetics, feed, management, and now technology.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Tell us a bit more about
now,
that.
On technology, it's the way you record your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever indicators that you're recording, weights and all that. Now we have apps that you can use to record all that.
Yes.
Secondly, even the way you count. There are apps that can help you. There was a very impressive app we saw the other day in South Africa where this guy is connected to his phone, to his laptop, and to his weight on the ground. So a sheep passes. If a sheep is over 50 kgs, because that's the weight he wants for slaughter, it opens the right gate.
Right gate?
Yes. Okay? So if it's below 40, it goes to the left.
Still has work to do on it. Yeah.
So when you see with that kind of app, then you're able to only have 2 guys at the farm.
Yes.
Yeah. And you're running a massive operation.
Yeah.
And quickly you can be able to take orders, because you'll be like, right now at the farm I have 100 that are over 50. And you know them and you've checked them. And the app takes the tag numbers and everything. So it makes your work easy.
Wow.
Yes.
So embrace.
Yes.
This technology journey, we can
Just
take
embrace.
It next level stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's not only in the corporate world, we are also trying to embrace technology, the AI side of it at the farms, just to ensure that we are steps ahead.
Yeah.
Or we are not left behind, so to speak.
Is there a story here for local genetics? Maybe not now, but in the future? Could we walk a journey? I've been reading up on sheep. So we do have our local breeds of sheep.
Yes.
What is it called? Maasai, the
Red Maasai.
Red Maasai sheep. Yeah. Is there a story there in the future, and maybe a challenge for the researchers?
Yes.
To get it to a level where it's playing in the same space?
Yes, there is a story there.
Yeah.
But the story lies more in what I would call the upgrading of the Red Maasai.
Okay.
And be able to get some of the traits. Like one of the beautiful traits of the Red Maasai is the hardiness and the resistance to diseases.
Okay.
If you're able to build that into the Dorper, and you are able to change the growth rate, because what happens with the Red Maasai, they don't grow that big.
Yeah.
But if you're able to bring the Dorper growth rate into the Red Maasai, then you have a sheep.
You have a serious sheep.
You have a serious sheep.
Okay.
Hardy enough.
Yes.
Something that knows our climate.
Yes.
And is adaptive to our climate. Then we are talking.
Excellent.
Yes.
Bernard, wow.
Yes.
A lovely conversation, and exactly what I was looking to get out of this podcast episode. So one, like I said, once again, let me just congratulate you on this journey that you're walking, and long may it last, and long may you continue to share your knowledge for the benefit of Kenyan and African farmers, because I know people from the region do travel. In fact, the day I visited, there was a young lady from Tanzania who was also coming to your farm to see what you're doing. So ladies and gentlemen, that's Amagoh Dorpers Stud. I'll give Bernard just a parting shot, but an opportunity to talk about this training that he does. But he's also very active on social media. Correct. So you see him there, he shoots his own videos and he gives farmers advice on various things. So Bernard, over to you, maybe to tell the viewers about what Amagoh Dorpers Stud does.
Yeah, so Amagoh Dorpers Stud, we are basically a sheep farm and a Dorper farm for that matter, situated along Kagundo Road, about 50 kilometers from your CBD, at a place called Kantafu. Here, we keep Dorpers for 2 main purposes. One, to upgrade farmer stock through selling them genetics, both ewes and rams. Secondly, we do it from the lamb mutton point of view, where we also have our own commercial stud that we grow for meat. The other important part of it is we run an educational center, I may call it that, where we bring in farmers. They are free to come to our farm on Tuesdays and Saturdays for what we refer to as the day trainings. And secondly, we also hold residential 2 to 3 days training more aimed at your farm managers, your workers who come spend time with us, just to get the hands-on training of how to make your farm successful and for it to run. So karibuni sana. And our social media handles, we are on YouTube as Amagoh Dorpers Stud. We are on TikTok as Amagoh Dorpers Stud. And we are also on Facebook as Amagoh Dorpers Stud. And you can easily get us on 0702849400. Thank you very much.
Excellent. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed that podcast episode 23. We are now, I think we've been diverse. We have had tech guys.
Yes.
And I think maybe the guy is interested in agriculture. I felt, Kwani, there are no agricultural entrepreneurs.
Yes.
But we have debunked that over the last 3 episodes. So it was a great pleasure having you. Thank you for the conversation. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. And I look forward to joining you as a Dorper farmer sometime in the not too distant future.
Karibu sana and happy farming. Karibu
Excellent.
sana. Karibu.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on episode 23. And we look forward to seeing you in the future. Asanteni sana.